Everybody literally and their mother should be on creatine. I've got my mother-in-law on creatine. It's been around for 20 years. I did my undergrad, the study of creatine on active older adults, and there was significant. Again, it's not like taking steroids or enhancement drugs, but it does make a difference in actually now they're finding your brain health and your muscle health both. So everybody should be taking creatine for sure.
Welcome to Metcalf Money Moment, the podcast. Unlock financial clarity and confidence with expert insights to achieve your goals. Hosted by Jeb Graham, Ethan Hutchison, and Eric Wymore. Each episode offers decades of combined expertise in wealth management, retirement planning, and more. Join us for practical strategies to inspire your financial journey. Now your hosts.
Welcome to Metcalf Money Moment podcast. My name is Jeb Graham, here with Eric Wymore and Ethan Hutchison, and a very special guest today, which is Chad Derowitsch, who owns KCFITCLUB. So how are you guys doing today?
Good.
Weird.
Good morning. Well, very good.
Great.
Well, I think maybe someone listening to this might say, well, this is a financial podcast. So, why do we have, a personal trainer, someone that owns a fitness company on the podcast today? But I think it really goes hand in hand with what we do as a lot of our clients, basically move toward retirement, get into retirement. A big piece of a lot of people's goal is to stay active, stay fit. And, Chad has actually worked with my wife and I on personal training in the past, and his company's evolved a little bit to some more stuff that he's going to talk a little bit about. But so Chad, maybe we can just start by talking a little bit about KC Fit and what exactly you do for people.
Correct. Yeah, we want to talk about that health as wealth aspect, correct? Right. If you're going to save up all that money for retirement, you want to be able to use those assets later in life. I mean, your kids might be grateful that you pass on quicker. Just kidding. But you just want to make sure you take care of yourself. But yeah, so as far as KC Fit Club is concerned, I am now what's considered a longevity and metabolic health coach. It's just a simple way of saying I help people with healthy aging, and that's through strength training and proper nutrition. So it's using a holistic approach through, lifestyle, which we'll go more into later in the presentation. But yeah, it's more of a holistic 360-degree.
Nice. So, and like in the past, you were more focused on personal training and fitness, and you've added the dietitian, or whether you call it dietitian or just diet and nutrition and all that into it. So
Yeah, I also have a body scanner here where I can delve into more body composition analysis. People kind of, they focus on the scale weight so much, like that's not telling you the whole story. That's not telling you about muscle loss and fat loss and visceral fat. So we're able to do a lot of data-driven coaching here as well, not just lifting weights and, drinking protein powders. A lot more comprehensive stuff going on here.
So what would you say, like for if we have someone that's listening to this that's moving into, say, their later 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever it is, what are I guess the very most important things for them to focus on? So
Well, unfortunately, after about age 30, we lose between 3 to 8% muscle mass at each decade. So that's our biggest concern. We got to protect that muscle mass. You protect your independence. I consider muscle your longevity organ. It's what keeps you going for the long haul. So whatever we can do, that's your foundation. So one, obviously, is strength training. Again, for strength training for muscle, you don't have to spend your entire life in the gym. It's 2 to 3 weeks of structured workout, probably 30 to 45 minutes, and you're hitting the major muscle groups, and then you're doing some stuff for balance, range of motion exercises. And then from there, you just want to stay active. People have hobbies, golf, gardening. So just stay active outside your structured workouts will take you a long ways. You don't need to be in the gym 6 days a week, like I was saying before. You just need to be consistent. That's the number one key.
And how much of an impact does, and I think I know the answer, but nutrition, when you're trying to couple being healthy, active, kind of staying off the couch in that sediment lifestyle, how much of a factor does nutrition fall into?
Nutrition's 80% of it, right? You're spending probably 3 or 4 hours a week working out, being active, and the rest of the time is how you're fueling your body. And then protein. So actually, as we get older, we're less efficient at breaking down protein. So we actually need more of it to maintain that muscle mass. Usually you want to get about 1 gram per pound of lean body mass. People go like 1 pound of weight. So it's different. So there's your actual scale weight versus the amount of lean body mass you have. So you want to get, so if you're 200 pounds, you're 20% body fat, that leaves you 180 pounds of lean muscle mass. That's the amount of mass you're trying to fuel with protein. So that's where you start at. And then you also need the other macronutrients like fiber, your healthy fats, hydration. Again, we all work in a systematic approach. All nutrition is important, but protein is what drives the muscle for sure, the metabolism.
Nice. And another question, I think it's kind of a hot topic. I know supplements are definitely part of the conversation when discussing nutrition, health, and holistic wellness and all that. But as you age, what are some key supplements that you would recommend just on the 50s, 60s, 70s as your later life?
Everybody literally and their mother should be on creatine. I've got my mother-in-law on creatine. It's been around for 20 years. I did my undergrad, the study of creatine on active older adults, and there was significant. It's not like taking steroids or enhancement drugs, but it does make a difference in actually now they're finding your brain health and your muscle health both. So everybody should be taking creatine for sure. And then a protein supplement would be a good idea to help you fill the nutritional gap. So supplementation is only as good as your foundation of your nutrition as a whole. You can't out supplement a poor diet either, right? So you gotta do your best you can with your actual nutrition, and then fill in the gaps with supplementation. A good multivitamin, omega-3, probiotics. Those would be your base. And then depending what areas you have joint health supplements, just kind of what areas you're kind of dealing with yourself that more individualized. But yeah, that foundation is definitely creatine, protein, omega-3s, probiotics, kind of hit the major systems.
So sticking on the nutrition theme, since you said it's 80% of the battle.
Yeah.
So what are some of the biggest mistakes nutrition wise that individuals make?
Well, one of them is just they undereat. They don't eat enough, and they're eating the wrong things. Correct? Because people, not to hammer on this too hard, but the weight loss drugs, those are a tool. But the biggest mistake when people try to lose weight is they take the muscle down with them, right? So if they're not eating an adequate protein, they're going to strip that muscle mass off, and that muscle is what keeps your metabolism up. So if you're trying to lose weight, you got to protect the muscle as you're losing. Because if you don't, you're going to yo-yo diet, and you're going to put the weight back on. You're going to be more densely fat than you were before. So that is why, again, protein is super huge. And then carbohydrates, people are like, I'm on a low carb diet. I go, oh, you mean low energy diet? Because muscle glycogen, muscle energy comes from carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are only a problem when you're not moving. If you're moving, staying active, carbs are your best friend. And you also get fiber from carbs. So those are important things too, along with your healthy fats, with hormones, fat soluble vitamin intake, and just keeping, the skin and organs healthy.
So what's a healthy day of eating look like?
I'm a big component of like 5-6 meals a day because that keeps your body going and humming. You're fueling. Yeah, I think when you're eating is a nutrition. It's not a punishment like you're eating too much, eating too less. Think of it as fuel, right? You're trying to set up a thing called protein synthesis. It's just a fancy way of saying getting your body into muscle building and fat burning phase. So that starts in the morning. That's why you need protein in the morning, get that going. So that sets your energy level throughout the day, and then it basically sets the tone for the day. So you're going to muscle building, energy is nice and fluid.
So I had a quick question back to, because this is something I've actually thought about before too, where you go through a stage where you want to lose weight, but you're worried about losing muscle mass. So like what's really important if say you wanted to go from whatever, you wanted to lose 20 pounds, but you wanted to really protect that other than eating protein, is it, really focusing on a lot of strength training and lifting weights, or what else you do?
Yeah. So when someone says they're going to lose 20 pounds, I go, you need to flip that and go for more of a body fat percentage, correct? So usually if a person's overweight, they might be 20% body fat. I go, well, let's go for 15%. And you may not lose a lot of scale weight, but when you add that muscle, I always tell people this is a pound of fat, this is a pound of muscle. So this is less dense. You cannot change much weight on the scale, but completely reshape your body by both strength training and bringing that protein in. And then cardio plays a small part into it. That's good for cardiovascular health. But your biggest lever for body composition change is sleep, strength training, nutrition, and managing stress. Those are the main things to focus on for proper weight loss.
The other thing, and that was the other question I was going to ask, is BMI. Like, do you even care? Because I always feel like that's an interesting statistic because everyone has a different body shape. And
Yeah, so BMI has been around since like World War II, and that was like generally speaking, that if it's just someone off the street that's not active, it's somewhat correct. But once you start putting muscle mass on, like if you have an NFL linebacker who's like 6'2", 230, they're built very well. They're gonna be obese on a BMI, right? Because they're full of muscle mass. So more of what your body fat percentage is, how much muscle mass you have, than it is just scale weight and BMI for sure.
throwing out like a hypothetical scenario. So my name's Ethan. I'm 65. I worked in the corporate world for the last 35 years, working 40, 50 hours a week, and I'm retiring in June. What are some quick 5 easy things that I can do as someone with a lot of free time just to slowly start getting back into the routine of things and trying to use that free time to better my health and wellness?
Right. So again, I kind of go back, back to strength training, but that consistency part, right? You don't want to go from no days working out to 6 days a week, correct? You want to build progression to a program. So like try to pick out 2 to 3 days per week to start just working out, moving stuff around, and be patient because we're older. Our recovery is not as good as we were when we were 20s, correct? So we got to build some recovery into that. So maybe take days off in between your workout and just stay active. You can go pick up some golf, go, play with the grandkids. Uh, and then start working on nutrition. Again, you don't need to like track your calories per se, but just make sure you're making good food choices. People know the difference between a soda pop and a banana, which one's healthier, correct? So just getting that mindset of making better food choices and work on your hydration, and just know you're going into this new season of lifestyle. You now have time to work on your health for sure, because you can see people that don't take care of themselves. They end up in a nursing home quick. They end up getting disease quickly because they've stopped working. Mental health goes down. So anything you can get your mind going in, just because you quit work doesn't mean you got to quit that mind going, right? So that mental health is super important too. So it's a whole new lifestyle change, really, when you go from the working world into the retirement world.
So kind of a slow start, right? Don't
Oh,
don't
for
jump
sure.
into it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
slower the better. It's
Okay.
more about consistency. If you can just do a few
So,
things a day that are active,
so they
just
shouldn't
go ahead.
recreate their 9 to 5 job in the gym. Crank.
Right. Or leave their
Yeah.
glory days in
Yeah.
high school
Hey,
football.
hey, real
Right.
quick on the,
Yeah.
because this is another thing that I've always wondered, and you hear different things, but is there value? Because everyone always talks about strength training. Is there value at all to just doing cardio, like the old go out for a jog or jump on the, because I actually remember a quote that you said to me when we were doing training stuff, and you said your heart rate doesn't care how it gets up. So you might as well, focus on strength training because that's going to get your heart rate up. But I do know, like I jump on the elliptical. I love it because it makes me feel really good. And my heart rate does get up a lot higher than it does when I'm lifting weights. So can you talk a little bit about that?
So there's a point of diminishing returns when it comes to heart rate. You need to be at what they call zone two, which is about 80 or 65 to 80% of your heart rate. So however you can get into that by either like rowing, swimming. The main thing on cardio that always worries me is joint health. So these people that are running half marathons, marathons later in life, you're literally pounding your joints into the ground. A prime example, I see a running club, and I'll see people get out of their cars and they've got their knees taped up and they can barely walk, but yet they're going to go run 6 or 7 miles. I'm like, I don't know if that's a good idea. Now, if you're just going for a stroll, for a walk, that's good. Like you mentioned before, mental health, letting those feel good endorphins come out, that's fine. But again, it's not your foundation of your program, right? It should be like an afterthought. It should be like, okay, I worked out, got my strength training in, now I have some extra time to do some cardio. Fantastic.
Cool.
Yeah, you've mentioned that a couple of times about like the mental health and how does that play into, the strength training plus the nutrition.
It's all correlated. I mean,
Yeah.
what you feed your mind, feed your body, how you take care of it's all interconnected, right? So, you're releasing epinephrine, norepinephrine, which are these feel good hormones, either by strength training or cardio. It helps just kind of literally battle those demons, right? You're putting yourself. People will use drugs and alcohol to deal with their mental health, or you can fuel your body and strength train, which will have a better outcome over the long term. So we're all dealing with stuff. It's how you choose to deal with it, correct?
Right. I would imagine that's some of the first uh, uh, things you have to overcome
Yes.
is the things that you're dealing with and the stresses in your life and how do you overcome it?
Yep. It's
Um,
all it starts between the ears. I mean, it all starts between the
So are
ears.
you a big meditation, believer in, like when you talk about mental health, what are the things that, other than like keeping your body
Well,
physically intact? Like,
right. I mean, it's kind of like what you watch, what you read. I'm very faith based, so prayer and my world is very strong in that area. Um, but yeah, just protecting your mind from all the junk that's out there. I mean, the world's pretty negative if you think about it. I mean, that news cycle is not good on mental health,
No.
but just spending, journaling, gratitude, just things that just help put proper things into your mind. I mean, there's a thing talking about guarding your mind, right? That's
yep.
number one.
Something I've learned in the past couple of years is focusing on that recovery aspect
Hmm.
of training. How important or what kind of emphasis would you put towards stretching and kind of mobility the older we get?
That's a huge part of it. I always tell people there because what you're doing literally when you're strength training, you're shortening the muscle over and over and over again. So you need to do things to lengthen it. And that's done through mobility training, stretching, foam roller, massage is good. So that's kind of the recovery component we were talking about, sleep. Basically what you're trying to do is because when you work out, you're creating an inflammatory environment. So you're trying to get the inflammation out of your body. So that's done through recovery. So like sleep 7 to 8 hours for sure. And I always talk, those are the boulders. I mean, you can get into red light therapy and all that stuff. I call those pebbles, but you need to take care of the like hydration, nutrition, and this, rest days. And that's your boulders to focus on. Everything else is just like if you have time to work on it, great. If not, whatever.
So when you say red light therapy, real quick on that, so are you equating that with like sitting in a sauna or, like, I know there's a lot of stats out there that's like supposedly very good for you as well. What's your thought on that?
I think it's a tool, but again, it's a pebble, in my opinion. It's not like a game changer like working on your nutrition, sleep, and exercise, right? There is some benefit to that, but again, it's just like how much time do you have in a day? How much resources do you have to your disposal? So work on the main foundation, and if you have time, work on those things.
Well, if you can help me work on my sleep, I'd really appreciate that. That's the one thing is like, I feel like I want to be, I lay in bed for 8 hours a night, but I like am I actually asleep? And I do take a sleep supplement. Like, do you have any thoughts on that?
So what I always tell people before bedtime is, try to take your main meal 3 hours before, so your body's not digesting food while you're trying to go to sleep. You can take some pure protein before bed. That's been shown to help with recovery. So like a casein, which is slow digesting protein. You can get the same thing out of yogurt or cottage cheese. Just like 20 grams of protein before bed will help with recovery. Melatonin, something you can take as a supplement to help with nighttime. Also magnesium to kind of get you in that deep sleep. And just make sure the environment, like I've got to have the fan on, it's got to be cold and dark. My wife is horrible with her crack light. I call it on her phone. It's like, would you turn that light off? She goes, close your eyes. I'm like my body knows it's on. Shut it off. So just a dark environment. So yeah, your sleep environment's part of it. And just, maybe not wind yourself. I mean, when you're going to bed, don't be watching the news or getting yourself amped up. It's time to chill, right? So
I got a question for you, Chad. So how could our clients who are interested in your services or working with some sort of trainer, like what do you come in and help out with? Are you there every day kind of breathing over their shoulder, looking at their meals, or are you kind of setting them up for
it depends what the client needs. So I always talk about customization to the client because it's not a one-all program that fits for everyone. Some people have their nutrition nailed down. Some people are great at that part, but need help with exercise or vice versa. Or people are like, I'm a complete train wreck. That's okay. We can take care of all of it. It's the first step of the client. Usually I take them through my body scanner, get all their data like visceral fat and cellular health. So it gives me just kind of a snapshot of their health. And then we discuss their goals and then walk through their day nutritionally. And then from that information, I'll be like, hey, like they'll tell me, my goals will lose weight. I go, well, here's the game plan for that. And we structure that together. And then as far as a check-in routine, we'll do weekly check-ins, monthly check-ins. It just depends how much accountability that person needs. It's like I said, everybody's a little different for what they need, but we can customize it to fit their lifestyle, if that makes sense.
Well, very good. So I know we're kind of coming up toward the end of the time. This has been great. I feel like this is a subject that we could talk about for a very long time because everybody's interested in it, right? And it's like one of those things that
I mean, it comes down to how you live your life, right? So
yeah.
it's like,
Yeah. And like
I mean,
for us, like,
just
and
take
I've had
it
clients
well.
say this, that are in retirement and they're like, and that they start to experience health problems and like they'll sit one day and be like, none of this money really matters if I don't have my health. And so, and I think that's true because like you can have $1 billion, but if you're not healthy enough to travel or do whatever the things that you want to do are, then it doesn't mean a whole lot. You know what I mean? So, um, but yeah, so I think this is super interesting. I know you're coming in over lunch today and bringing us some protein shakes. Yeah. So we're kind of excited about that. Yeah. So, and if one of our clients wanted to engage you, how do they get a hold of you, for that?
Um, yeah, they just need to go to kcfitclub.com and then book a wellness profile and it's
Yep.
complimentary. And we just take one
Okay.
step at a time.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot for being on. This has been good content and we'll look forward to seeing you here in a few hours. Take care. This is Metcalf Money Moment signing off. Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to Metcalf Money Moment, the podcast. We hope today's episode provided valuable insights to help you unlock financial clarity, confidence, and peace of mind. For more expert advice and resources, visit metcalfpartners.com. Until next time, make every money moment count.
Jeb Graham, Ethan Hutchison, and Eric Wymore are registered representatives with and securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through WCG Wealth Advisors, a registered investment advisor. WCG Wealth Advisors and Metcalf Partners Wealth Management is are separate entities from LPL Financial. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly.